Oh, this is going to be a good video today. Something that I see a lot of people are so confused about, and that is, how loud should I master my music? So if you've ever had that question, this is the video for you. Hey, I'm Bobby Balo, the mixing and mastering engineer at Raytown Productions. I also run a Facebook community called the Home Studio Fast Track. It's a place to go to learn with other music creators and level up your audio skills. I probably get asked this question a few times a week. And if you ever have tried to go on Google and do a search or use YouTube to find an answer to how loud your song should be before you send them out for streaming, it's an absolute nightmare. Some people say, you need to master your songs at minus 14 LUFS. And other people say minus 16. Some people say minus 10. Some people say whatever, it doesn't matter at all. So what is the right answer? And more importantly, why is there this confusion around how loud a song should be in the first place? So let's talk about why there's so much confusion first. Depending on which streaming services you use, a lot of them have different requirements. And some services will put what's called loudest normalization on by default, and others don't. And what that does is that adjusts the volume of every song to be a similar volume when it's being played back. On top of all that, you have different file formats that are being used to stream the audio, which have different quality, and the list goes on and on and on. So it's no wonder why people are so confused about this. And it gets even more complicated. There's no formal regulation over the playback volumes, so these different streaming companies could potentially have their own loudness war against themselves. And there's nothing that says that the streaming platform will use the same requirements that they have now in the future. Spotify has already changed their requirements from where they were a few years ago, and if you read the language, they're going to change again sometime in the future. So what if they just get rid of their volume requirements? Then what do? We're going to be stuck with a song on their platform that's way quieter than anything else that's recently submitted. And typically, if a song is louder than what they request for the volume requirement, they turn the gain down. So that's not changing any of the dynamics. However, some of these streaming services, when they receive a master that's too quiet, they have to turn the volume up. But a lot of times they'll put on a limiter, or some services will even clip the audio so that they can then raise it to their desired level. And that is set by a robot. That's not a person. That's going to change the sound of your song. So you can kiss that punchy, awesome snare that you dialed in goodbye. So why did this all happen? And it all comes down to the loudness war. At least that's what everybody's blaming it on. The real reason here is that it's to help the person who's listening to the audio. It's annoying as hell when we're sitting there listening to music and we have to keep reaching for the volume knob and turning it up and down every song because different mastering engineers master music at different levels. This was an attempt to make sure that if you're listening and enjoying the experience, you don't have to keep doing that. The streaming services are going to adjust the level for you. But because we're all human beings and we have this innate bias into thinking that something that's louder sounds better, we had this tendency over the last few decades to keep making music louder and louder and louder because it sounds better, up to a certain point though. And that comes back to the question we had. So how loud should my song be? So we came to the part of the video where I'm going to just give you the one magic number that is going to make your song sound amazing on every single platform. So when mastering your music, what I recommend is that you master your music at whatever the hell you want it to be. It doesn't matter. Just make sure it doesn't sound like crap. But on a serious note, make sure that you just master the song to try to be competitive for your genre. The different genres have lots of different loudness requirements, so just find a good representative song or a reference and try to get somewhat near that volume without sacrificing the punch, the dynamics, and absolutely make sure that we're not losing that emotional element to the song. So who am I to tell you to not listen to the distribution services requirements? Well, I'm a believer that actions speak louder than words. So I went ahead and I measured the loudness of some of the top songs. And what I found is that the highest charting songs were actually at a loudness of about -7, -6. And in some cases for more aggressive styles of music like metal, I found them at -5 or even -4. But they still sound good. So if the top bands and artists and mastering engineers around the world aren't following these guidelines, why should you? Very rarely will there be a song that's mastered quieter than -10 LUFS. And that's 4 or 6 dB louder than what's recommended by these streaming platforms. And you don't have to take my word for it. Go and find some of your favorite tracks, bring them into a session, and analyze the volume. I guarantee they're going to be way louder than -16 or -14 LUFS. There is one more thing I want to mention, though. Just because some of the top mixing and mastering engineers can get a song that's on the Billboard charts to -5 LUFS doesn't mean that your song can get that loud and still sound good. The loudness doesn't come from mastering. The loudness comes from a properly arranged song in a really, really good mix. If you get the balance off on the mix, you're limiting the song's loudness potential, and it's never, ever going to get loud without it starting to sound distorted or sound like crap. So just make it sound as good as it can and don't worry about the number. And that way we're kind of future-proofing our songs so that if the volume requirements change for these streaming platforms, we're ready for them. They're already a little bit louder, so they can make their adjustments and we'll be just fine. And to help you a little bit more with your mastering, I've put together an ebook that you can download completely free with my favorite free mixing and mastering plugins. Just click the link in the description. So if you know anybody that is getting ready to release a song or that you think would benefit from learning about this a little bit deeper, please go on your favorite social platform, share this video, let people know that this exists. I want to thank you so much for your time and your attention, and I will see you in the next video.